There is a hidden game lost to time. Hold on. Sorry. Just got back from my other job. This game may look cute on the outside, but inside it holds a deep, deep secret. The game is called Petscop. You've probably seen a fair few videos in regard to it. Maybe you've watched them, maybe you haven't, because the people who made them were just yapping too much. Petscop is a game for the PlayStation 1 that only one man has ever been able to actually play. How is that possible? I don't have any idea. Fortunately, this fellow shared his experience playing it on YouTube, so we get a sneak peek to see exactly what this game truly was, and we get to witness the dark secrets that it holds unfold as he plays. Thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video again for the second time in January. You know what Aura is. Protect yourself. Data brokers, they steal your data. Get Aura to opt out on your behalf. But not only that, use Aura as your all-in-one online protection thing. Your secret trap card, your Uno reverse to those ne'er-do-wells out there trying to steal your shit. Aura has got your back. Aura makes protecting your data and your online presence as easy as possible. They send opt-out requests for you so people can't just look you up and find out personal information by scraping those data broker websites. Aura prevents all of that. Plus it's a VPN, you know, it's awesome. All-in-one privacy, it's great. Plus it's all at a price that makes sense. Go to aura.com/Oompa. You guys know the link by now, or just click the link in the description. You get a free 2-week trial. Start it today. Get your shit together. Come on. It's been too long. I've been using Aura forever now, and I cannot imagine a world in which I don't. Guard your presence online with Aura. Go to aura.com/Oompa to start a free 2-week trial, or click the link in the description. Thank you, Aura, for sponsoring this video. Before we get too deep into the insane mystery that is Petscop, we're going to give you guys a little bit of a summary, a little bit of a one to naught on some of the most important parts of the Petscop series, and then we'll slowly get deeper and deeper and deeper and go down the rabbit hole further and further. So stick with me. The shit gets crazy. Petscop first came to the forefront of the public consciousness 7 years ago when a post on r/creepy gaming, when a user P.A. Leskovitz posted an image of a duck-looking character with the tag mystery about an unfinished game and what hides within it.
Videos of a mysterious unfinished PSX game from 1997 called Petscop. There's something hiding in it.
Oh yeah? That's pretty mysterious. There were those who were immediately hooked by the mystery regarding Petscop, and then there were those that discovered a darker connection within the game to the real world. This is incredibly interesting. I've watched the first episode, and this guy already got his ARG game on point. This is the most well-made thing I've ever seen. It reminds me of an early creepypasta. I hope Nightmind covers this. Edit. And honestly, I don't care if this is just to give this series more attention. If you are the creator, it deserves it because I think this is wonderfully made. Yeah, it's weird because you'd think it's the creator of the game who is doing the playthrough. But for the most part, the Let's Play isn't well acted. It doesn't feel scripted. The guy is quiet a lot and says things like, I don't know what to say about that, rather than commenting on or expanding on what's going on. He also seems to miss certain things that happen on screen. I've recorded at least 100 hours of Let's Plays myself, so I constantly have that backseat driver voice going through my head, critiquing how disengaged and dull the player seems most of the time. But in a very weird way, in a context like this, that makes it more engaging. It makes it seem more authentic. True. I know all about Let's Plays as well. In fact, I was a massive Let's Play channel about 15 years ago. Ever heard of a game called Feed and Grow Fish and/or Frog game in Swindon? Anyways, back to Petscop.
In entertaining the thought of this being a real unreleased title, I've been searching for other info about this game or the company that made it, finding nothing. I can only assume, if it really is an unfinished game, that it is one of the most incredibly obscure things ever, or one of the best examples of capturing that PS1 style in an original title I've ever seen. So many small details, from the compression of the still loading screen images to the way everything's rendered, utilization of pre-rendered objects in the color room scenes, and everything in between. If OP is the creator, fucking kudos. Amazing work, can't wait to see more.
Then there's this guy who already went into this deep-ass rabbit hole as soon as the shit came out. There's all these comparisons between this rebirth therapy and things that happened within the game. Needless to say, people were very, very, very interested in this off the bat. Overall, you can kind of see the mystery here. It's very, very, very appealing. There's a lot to it, and honestly, it's scary as fuck. But for now, we know that Petscop is a story about the pursuit of love, companionship with some dark twists and a lot of regret. And I mean a lot of regret. This is the most regretful ass looking motherfucker I've ever seen in my whole life. Ugly bastard. I've seen so much in regard to this game, but I've had my blinders on, other than the fact that I know it is scary and it is like ARG-esque. That's the extent of what I know, and the reason that I wanted to make this video is because I think it's time that I learn. It's a massively popular thing. People are always singing its praises. Who am I to have my head in the sand? And hopefully we can make an entertaining video out of it. I'll tell you what, the research process has been a fucking nightmare. Petscop is supposed to be a PlayStation 1 game that has been lost to time. That is the premise. That is what's so appealing to people. It is quite literally lost media, so to speak. The premise of the game involves you, the player, the weird looking duck guy with big fucking massive feet and a surprised weird expression on his face. I want to hit him in the head. I mean, I want to smash his head in. Your job in the world is to collect pets. The pets range in different characteristics and sizes. Look at all these cute little awesome pets. Whenever you catch a pet, a brightly colored phrase and word pops onto the screen and says caught. That signifies that you have caught the pet. Pretty remarkable stuff. To get the pets, you have to complete different puzzles. Some pets are unobtainable to a certain degree. Amber, a pet, for example, is caught by tricking them, locking yourself in their cage until they land in your arms. You can tell this game is very unfinished, but this is the basic premise of the game, so to speak. Now that we've established the pet narrative, it is important to say that the game does hold a much more elusive and creepy atmosphere than the name and the pet sort of gameplay would lead you to believe. Pets have very little to do with the storyline of Petscop. And the storyline is where shit gets really strange and really scary and really weird. And by the way, this video is brought to you by our sponsor, Sour.gg, guys. We have 3 new epic flavors of candy that are available. The candy is owned by me, the candy company. We got Petey Snack, which is blood orange candy. We got Frankie Fruit, which is blueberry flavor. And then we got Kev's Candy, which is my girlfriend's custom bag of candy. It's watermelon raspberry. Shit's delicious. Get you a damn. We got a golden ticket too. If you buy a golden ticket, they're probably sold out. It's a contest. You leave an idea, you'll be able to make your own bag of custom candy, custom design, everything, and be on it. And we'll sell it. You can get a bunch of it. It'll be awesome. It's pretty cool. Go to sour.gg. All right. As stated before, Petscop is a PlayStation 1 game. So when you start that up, you hear the PlayStation 1 sound, and that is a blast from the past. I mean, I'm lying. I've never actually even touched a PlayStation 1 or seen one. I didn't get an Xbox till I was 13 years old. Then we get to this fun and cute startup menu with these fun and cute little sounds, and the title Petscop, supposedly made in 1997 by Garalina, my ex-wife. We begin in a road to which the main character travels to a sign stating that this is the gift plane and no personnel are around. The gift plane has closed indefinitely and all personnel have left. Very 90s game. This reminds me of some Pokemon shit. Running around, there's just like a dead end and I'm too stupid to figure it out. I did have a Game Boy in the 90s. Or actually my grandmother had one, so I could play it on the weekends, I guess. But that checks out. Very 90s. Unfortunately, though, all the pets still dwell in the gift plane since they were failed to be removed from their homes. Unfortunately, we have failed to remove all the pets from their homes. Supposedly, there's 48 pets that remain in the world of Petscop that you can gather from the gift plane. Every pet is supposedly valuable and you should have no problems finding one that you love. Somebody that you love. Somebody implying the pets are humans. It's kind of strange. I find it important to also introduce Paul, the man playing this game, because we're not playing the game ourselves. The game doesn't exist. Only one guy has played it, and his name happens to be Paul. Bad name. We'll get into that. Paul then walks toward a building called Even Care. Inside this building, we see some kind of waiting room with arrows pointing us through a door. Paul then approaches another sign which states the following: when you're choosing a pet, find somebody that you like. You don't have to love them right away. What does that mean, dude? Somebody? Why are you calling pets somebody? Why they're not people. They're animals, right? Pets are animals. I thought, at least. Most of my pets are animals, like 80% of them. The other 20% are rocks. I have a lot of pet rocks. Another sign across the room from this one states the following: don't be discouraged if they run from you. They really do want a home. They're afraid. Show them that there's nothing to be afraid of. Bro, that sounds as f***. What are you talking about?
So, the first pet is in this room.
Paul then narrates that this is the first pet in the room, who we slowly realize is called Amber. As stated before, we get Amber by tricking her to jump into our arms, locking ourselves in a cage with her. The signs did in fact say that we need to show them that there's nothing to be afraid of, and that is exactly what Paul did. After Paul catches Amber, he shows off her little unique characteristics. Amber was a young bull. She's afraid to leave.
She's afraid to leave home. If her home is good, this is not a problem. She is very heavy and that makes her life a little harder as well as yours. What's the safest place you can put her in? You should probably start thinking about that. What does that mean, dude? All this shit's confusing. So far, the story is just being in this bizarre game that no one's ever played or understands, and we have Paul finding and exploring stuff. And in the game, you have to find pets and show them that you love them and show them that there's nothing to be afraid of. It's like Pokemon without the battling, and there's puzzles to solve instead of battling. And it's also like kind of like weird. It's creepy. Ow, that hurt. Now we and Paul go through the same process 2 more times for 2 more pets. The second pet we watch Paul catch is called Pin. And in order to do so, he has to complete a music puzzle. The third and fourth pets are called Wavy and Randice. We watch Paul get Wavy and Randice by pushing a bucket to make a rain cloud turn into a bucket of water, which then allows him to grab the flower in the cloud. Randice is the flower and Wavy is the cloud. After capturing 3 and 4, Paul states that he was unable to find any more pets there, and when he leaves the building, it is not the same outside that was there before. It's an empty landscape with nothing around but a locked cellar door.
Alright, so there's nothing out here, as far as I've seen. But actually, I think there is something out here. I just haven't seen it yet.
Then we get to the next episode. Petscop Dose! Episode 2 just starts with Paul standing there, not talking, waiting for something to happen. Classic Let's Play behavior. Then the door to the cellar opens up on its own and there's a weird beeping sound. What the f is that shit? Naturally, Paul heads down the stairs into a room where he hears a phone ringing. Paul then goes further into this creepy-ass dungeon room that opened up, answers the phone, and then the phone says, "Care, left the room." What does that mean? I have no idea. Then we see a note that shows a girl's face with the letters A, B, and NLM, which I don't know what any of this shit means. And I'm getting scared, to be honest. I'm getting pretty upset. After this fucking weird nonsense, Paul decides to leave the basement and return to the shack outdoors. There is then a grave named Michael Hammond, 1988-1995. It's a 7-year-old child, and there's a phrase that says upon it, "Mike was a gift." I really want to point out the excellent insight that Paul provides based on what we're seeing, and that is...
That's a dead kid.
Well said, Paul. Well said. Genius Paul then decides to go into the shack. He sees a flower that you can tear off the petals of the said flower. And you can rip the petals off the flower. Before he finishes this, though, he goes to the basement of the home and sees a young girl, just like the one from the picture next to the phone, the NLM thing. He heads back upstairs, finishes the job, removing all the petals from the flower. And then, when he gets back downstairs, the girl has become a horrifying fucking beast. And the screen is dark red. What is this game? This is bullshit. I hate this. Paul then continues forward and finds a red thing that he can type questions into. What the fuck is this red thing? Why is he doing this? I don't understand this. This shit is so well made, dude. Whoever came up with this is an absolute genius. This is not even real. Like, you gotta realize that. This is wild. He types what in that thing and it says, "I don't fucking know." And he laughs a little bit and it's funny and then he moves on. Let's skip a little bit ahead to a part where Paul enters another building and enters another room with a badly drawn girl's face. It's a mirrored room. It's bizarre. On the floor, it says "Quitter's Room." What does that mean? I have no fucking idea. I tell you one thing, this bitch got some big old fucking feet though. I tell you what. On the wall, there's a piece of paper that's backward written in crayon that asks, "Do you remember being born?" And I don't know what it means, and I'm scared, and I don't fucking like it, and I have my safety onion ready to go just in case. At a moment's notice. It's got a little hole in it, though. I don't know how that happened. I don't think it was a bullet or anything like that. Weird. And that's the end of Petscop 2. How about Petscop 3, guys? Maybe it gets a little funnier. Maybe his feet get a little more normal sized. I don't know. Let's find out. Skipping ahead again, we stumble upon a building that we come to learn is called the Child's Library. Paul goes in there and inputs the face he saw on the shed, Care's face, and we visit her room. But she's not there, guys. She's missing. Of course she is. But we get some dialogue from her room with eerie hints alluding to what may have happened to her, which we will explain more in detail Later, Tiara says young people can be psychologically damaged beyond rebirthing. Nobody loves me. They wander the new maker plane. What is all this nonsense? We find the red thing again. He typed in what to it and it said, I don't know, back in episode 2. Now it's called Tool and you can ask it a bunch of stuff. Paul goes ahead and asks it a few things like, who is Tiara? Who am I? Where am I? Then something bizarre happens. The tool turns pink and it looks like some kind of adult device. I'm not exactly sure what it's supposed to be, but it's pink now, which is kind of scary. It's my least favorite color. Paul then asks the newly pink tool who they are, to which the tool responds, turn off PlayStation. That thing sounds like my mother. Just kidding. I love my mom. I feel bad saying that. But it's funny though. I never had a PlayStation. I would never call my mom. I'm not sure at this point if I was a kid playing this, if I'd be scared or if I would just be mad at this thing telling me to log off because I didn't want to ever get told to do that. Paul then asks the tool why. The tool then responds with something very bizarre. It says, Marvin picks up tool, hurts me when PlayStation on. Then the pink tool disappears and turns back into a red tool. And I don't even know what the hell just happened, guys, but it gave me goosebumps when I saw that the first time. Because that's breaking the fourth wall. Marvin, who the f***'s Marvin? Why did the tool turn pink? And what is it? Why is he being hurt with that thing? What is that thing? We're gonna skip on a little bit to Petscop 6, by the way. If you wanna watch all this stuff yourself, go ahead. There'll be links down below. You can just look up Petscop. It's gonna be way better than what the I'm doing right now. But we see a creature start placing blocks. Then there's a question, where's my house? Then there is another, where's the school? And then there is a response, I will follow. Then it disappears and Paul goes to investigate. And upon his investigation, he catches another pet, which we learn is called Toneth. Toneth is an ugly little red bird creature with a broken description thing. I'm not sure. And a description heel. Dude, there is no description. How am I supposed to enter it? What is this game? Fourth wall shit? Is this like breaking the fourth wall or whatever, dude? A little while later, though, it does stop glitching and it gives a description. A bird, I think. I forgot what birds look like. Funny, stupid blob monster, says Mike. That's what it is. Who's Mike? The dead child from earlier on in the game, potentially? The 7-year-old? The dead kid? Michael Hammond? Mike was a gift. Dude, what? We know he's called Mike from the little tagline. This is where stuff really starts to get weird, okay? I know the turn off PlayStation thing and Marvin shit was fucking scary and weird, but this is really bizarre. The description then just starts to go on and just gets really long and it's, yeah, I mean, here it is. Has broken leg for some reason. I already hung him on a wall too. Late to take it back. It makes me think about the dog, actually, because when the car hit him, I thought, at least it will be over soon. He survived it, and I was advanced text. Go back. The only one who still wanted to put him down. A dog is an innocent. When that dog wags its tail and it appears happy, it's not real. Bro, what the fuck? I guess that's Toneth then. Toneth times 20, or 17. The end. It's yucky outside. After this epic insight into who the Toneth is, Paul heads back to the tool and asks it more questions because that seems like a good idea. Paul asks it, where is my home? And it says, you'll never go home. This would freak me out. This would blow my mind. This would freak me out so bad. I feel like, I don't even know. I don't like this. I really don't like this Petscop thing. I'm a huge by the way, when it comes to scary shit. Where's the school? Paul asks it. The tool responds with, you can't go back in time. Now we're in Petscop 7. Things are starting to get really bizarre. We travel back to the quitter's room where Paul checks the picture on the wall, which now tells him to come here in pink letters, kind of implying the tool wants to speak to him, the pink possessed tool. Paul then returns to the tool and lo and behold, it is pink again. The tool tells him, I love you, new maker. Please show Marvin where his house is. Paul asks who they are again and the tool responds with, go there and he'll follow you. His daughter is there. And that's pretty much Petscop 7 in a fucking nutshell. In Petscop 8, we begin in an empty room until suddenly a car flies past the screen at Mach 5. After that, a character appears down the hallway the cars were appearing from. The creature we see then stops at a school. It then stops at a picture that looks like a house. Paul calls this creature Marvin.
This is Marvin, right?
Because Paul knows the fucking thing, Marvin, the same Marvin that the pink tool was talking about, we assume. It then runs off and disappears.
What?
And this is pretty much the only important part until Petscop 10. We skip ahead again. Petscop 9, not much happens. At least nothing I can fucking understand. I tell you what, god damn it, I'm dumb as shit. I will say something very important does happen at the end of Petscop 9, which is where we shall begin. Paul goes back to the shed from before and finds Care. Care is there now. And then you can capture a child, a human child, Care NLM, from that weird image before. Care NLM escaped from the school's basement and wandered the Newmaker plane for days. To catch her, you had to lie, but it may not be a lie forever. You're the Newmaker. You can turn Care NLM into Care A and close the loop. Paul then decides to leave Care NLM at the child's library, to which the game states we can just leave her here. And also, a little bonus, we can change our name within 6 months and take her back. So let's stop here and let's try to understand more context in regard to what the f is happening. Who is Paul? What is going on? Because most of this shit makes no fucking sense. So if you've bared with me until this point, I appreciate it. Let's talk about Paul, the guide and narrator of this whole game. He's the one playing the Petscop game. He's guiding the viewers through the game's levels, puzzles, and secrets. His gameplay and commentary are the primary means through which we, the audience, are able to experience the game. When you watch the videos on the Petscop channel, you're experiencing the story through the eyes of Paul. The way that he's playing it is the only way that we are able to experience it being played. And this is interesting, and this is a massive part of the reason why Petscop is so compelling, is because of Paul. Here's an example. When Paul shows us how to get that first pet. You gotta solve a little puzzle, lock yourself in the cage, you get the ball, Amber, whatever. Paul's already solved that before. He walks us through exactly what we have to do to acquire the pet Amber. The second puzzle in Pet, however, in the Petscop series, is not so easily solved. Paul just can't figure it out. He just fucking avoids it. So we don't ever get to see that.
Over here, I can't catch this one. I've tried. This is always what happens.
We're not in control. We don't get to try to solve it ourselves. We are left with mystery after mystery simply because Paul. Very early on, we are keyed in that Paul isn't the most reliable narrator or player, and this is a trend that becomes more and more common throughout the Petscop series. It's super important. Paul is just a little rascal. He's a little bastard. Yeah. And another example of Paul being Paul is the part in Petscop 1, after some footage is cut, he's outside this cellar door thing, saying that, you know, sometimes it takes him an hour to find this, sometimes he got lucky, he found it in 15 minutes. If he were to restart his console, he would be unable to find it again.
This is just luck that I happen to find this. And I think if I were to restart my console right now, I would not be able to find this again. Probably, because I don't remember what I did.
And this we can directly reference later in episode 6. Towards the end of episode 6, Paul says that he created a new save and retraced his steps to try and recreate events. But the oddities that he encountered the first time didn't happen on the new save, even though he tried his best to recreate them.
Because you can walk around and something will just happen, you know? Because I created a new file, and I tried to be scientific about it. I went and did all the same things that I did this time, and the same things did not happen.
Paul's a son of a bitch, but I don't understand how he's able to retrace his steps with the game being so inconsistent as we are led to believe from episode 6. Maybe it gets more inconsistent as time goes on. I don't really know. Anyways, this is also where Paul invites the viewer to participate in the Petscop mystery.
If you think you saw something that might provide a clue, please let me know.
Which this is likely what made Petscop such a viral and mysterious project and become what it is now, a thing with a cult-like following. Another thing of note to add some general context overall to Petscop and my sort of interpretation of what's going on here is something that we noticed after finishing the first episode. It sort of takes the mystery out of the game and into the real world. The first episode says on YouTube to be 1 hour and 6 minutes long. It says that on YouTube, but it's actually 9 minutes long when you go and watch the video. How is that possible? How does he fucking do that? I'm a YouTuber and I don't even know how that's done. And by the way, saying I'm a YouTuber doesn't really, you know, it's not that helpful, to be honest. It's not that good of a thing. But why does this say it's 1 hour and 21 minutes long? And it's actually only 12 minutes long. Who is Paul and why is he doing this to us? Paul. Episode 2 is 1 hour and 21 minutes. Like I said, it's only 12. This is a question that has been asked on the Reddit. I don't know if maybe when you export a video, you can include metadata showing a time code, maybe something like that. I don't know. And then YouTube kind of shows that information. I really don't know. I've never tried it. I probably should. I used to be a compression technician. I could probably figure that out. But guess what? I'm just a YouTuber now. So I'm not going to do that. And this is just something that isn't even relevant at all to the content of the videos or to Petscop as a game or piece of media. It's just a strange thing that deepens the already cavernous depths of mystery that are surrounding Petscop. Speaking of mystery, episode 2 is when the game is finally experienced with Paul being unfamiliar with what comes next. Episode 1, Paul kind of knew exactly what was going on and he was familiar with how to solve most of the puzzles outside of the one that he skipped, puzzle 2. But now episode 2 is when we see Paul experience the game through the lens of the unknown, and he is no longer primed and we are no longer primed for what comes next. For example, before he enters the cellar door, he says that he hasn't seen what's inside. Interesting, Paul.
So I'm going to show you what's in here now. I haven't seen it yet, so this could be interesting.
This is also probably why Paul isn't a professional Let's Player by trade, because he's not good at this. He's silent. He's just processing what he's seeing. He has no idea what's going on. He's even apologizing for his silence, which is the first mistake. You never apologize. He says he's bewildered.
Sorry for not talking very much. I'm a little bewildered, if you want to know the truth.
A feeling that is surely only compounded by the discovery of a child's gravestone in a game that doesn't exist. What the f? Michael Hammond gravestone, epic moment. Paul is integral to this entire thing. Paul is presenting all of us Petscop for the first time ever, since before this, it didn't exist. There's no way to play the game. We can't try it if we want to. Paul is our only in. He's also providing us, the viewers, a relatable protagonist. He's the protagonist. He plays as the main character, which is a silent, devoid of emotion thing with big, ugly ass, annoying feet. Paul provides that. So when he experiences something, whatever it is, confusion, curiosity, and in some instances fear, we're kind of experiencing it through him. It's resonating. It's interesting. We're watching what's unfolding on screen and unfolding in the mind of Paul. Of course, fear and confusion some of the time. There are some times when eerie, weird things are happening and Paul doesn't give a fuck and he has no reaction. For example, here, when the game starts talking about killing children. Dude, Paul is not a fast reader either, by the way. I'd have a little bit of a critique for Paul here after watching all this shit. Also, this game is so scary. There could just be any moment a massive jump scare. The ambience is really unnerving and weird and disturbing and freaky as shit. Also, the moment where the tool tells Paul to turn off the PlayStation because Marvin harms the tool when the PlayStation is on, when it's pink, Paul has no reaction to that either. He doesn't give a shit. Other thing is the fact that Paul is just not, is even a real guy. The channel is called Petscop. Paul has nothing to do with Petscop. Petscop has nothing to do with Paul, but Paul is on the official Petscop channel. Unless Paul just put all of his eggs in one basket and intended to end his Let's Play career completely here and just base it all on an unknown game that never existed. Or maybe Paul is the orchestrator. Maybe Paul is Stromboli. Maybe Paul made the game. I don't know. We don't know who made the game yet. Finding out more about Paul's relationship to the game, though, is very important to the entire story of Petscop. Because throughout the Petscop series, clues begin to reveal themselves to us, the viewer, and also to Paul, because he's the one playing the game, that Paul has a personal connection to the game and its story, Petscop. So it makes sense why Paul is on the Petscop channel, because Paul is part of the game. The game is like real life. It's crazy. Paul has knowledge and confidence of elements from the game that would be absolutely otherwise inaccessible if you were just an ordinary player picking this shit up from day one. One instance of this connection appears in episode 1. It's easy to miss, but here you go. Paul references a note that came with the game, possibly from the developer. The note instructed Paul to go to a specific website and input a series of button presses.
The reason we're here is because in the note that came with this, which is short, the first line in all capital letters, I'm gonna read it. It says, "I walked downstairs, and when I got to the bottom, instead of proceeding, I turned the right and became a shadow monster man. Below that, a date, June 13th, 1997. For you, please go to my website on the sticker, and also go to Ronith's room, and press start, and press down, 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 right, start."
It's this series of button presses that changes the entire theme of the game from the silly and colorful caught pet collecting. We're walking through, we're going through and then it turns into a fucking demon mystery.
So I happen to know this is Ronith's room because it works. So I go here. I'm just gonna do this now. So what is it? Down, 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 right, start. All right. So you can see that it accepted it and the music stopped. I'm just gonna go out this way here.
Another potential link to the developer appears later in episode 9 when Paul is reading a note on the wall at the bedroom, but it changes dependent on which set of eyes or eyebrows you select. The note seemingly talks directly to Paul, saying that he's gone through his belongings. You must have guessed, but I was looking through your things. I found that picture of you from 1977, standing in front of an old windmill with your friend. The note is written from someone named Rainer. Who exactly is Rainer? Apparently, according to the old About section on the YouTube channel, Rainer is the person who gave Paul the game in the first place. Rainer gave this gift to us on Christmas 1977 and 2000. It was the single longest day of our lives. We were all certain he was dead at the time. He had been missing since June 1997 and 2000. We're not as concerned about these things now. For now, there's nothing to do. We are waiting patiently for Paul. When the time comes, we will turn on the light. What's all that mean, guys? Guys, I'm really confused. I don't like this stuff. This gives me goosebumps every time I read something like that because I'm just a little idiot guy and I shouldn't be allowed to see this stuff because it freaks me the fuck out. Another really strange thing in regard to Paul and the game is in episode 7 when trying different combinations of eyes and eyebrows to get different bedrooms in the child library. Paul has to censor something for the first time on the screen. He censors it with a little black box. It's something that appears on the table and leaves him speechless for quite a while. Wow, what a compelling story this is. This is incredible. This is genuinely good shit. I hope it doesn't get ruined by something horrible and dark that's connected to real life. That would be terrible. We've had to cover something with the back box. Right now, we can't say why. Some other things we're expecting to simple in the future. A big peasant with a sticker on it. Something on a wall in a black house. Written on a chalkboard. Now this is something that I theorize is a personal connection to Paul. Something that Paul doesn't want you to see. Obviously, it's like some kind of personal information, a message directly to the narrator. Maybe just his name, something like Paul. Hey, it's me, Paul. Imagine how freaked out you'd be if the game you're playing is just like, hey, yo, here's your full address, date of birth, social security number, where both your parents were born, and also your tax ID, motherfucker, for that business you started a couple years back. Remember that shit? It failed epically. That's like all in the game. That would make me shit. I would I would smear a trail of just like snail. I would be like a snail, but instead of with just cream or whatever snails have, it would be just shit. Like a magic marker of shit. Just. And then I would maybe run on all fours. Start chanting. Now, the real evidence for this censored thing in the video being a personal connection is the long silence and shock in which Paul tries to recover from and reconcile with whatever he's seeing. And after 10 seconds of silence, if you listen with the volume all the way up, you hear him whisper, "Oh my God," to himself. That is so fucking scary, dude. I feel bad for Paul, dude. Paul sounds scared. Paul sounds like a little, just scared little guy. I feel bad for Paul. I want to give him a big hug. There's another moment in episode 9 in which we see a profound reaction from Paul when he enters what appears to be a birthday party room. There's a cake on the table, but instead of it having numbers for candles indicative of a potential age, it has a P or an AirPod, but maybe a P for Paul. Next to the cake on either side, there's presents. The one on the right, Paul finds a key, and a large spinning geometric shape, which Paul censors, emerges from the gift on the left. And we don't know what came out of it because he censored it, but we know it affected him deeply and affected him very personally because he says, "What the fuck?" And that's not something you say really when you're playing a video game.
What the fuck?
Take this comment, for example. There's something so genuinely disturbing about hearing Paul say, "What the fuck?" Like he's seen some weird crap in this game, and whatever he was censored that pushed him over that edge. Golly. Yeah, I mean, that's creepy as shit. I hate this. I don't want to record this video anymore. F this shit. What if the next game I play starts referring to me? I'm a huge It's also around the time that we start to see the game revealing personal connections to Paul, when I began to realize something else. The deeper we venture into the game world with Paul, the less vibrant things are. It gradually becomes more and more bleak and strange and darker and scarier. For instance, the start of the game, it's bright, there's nice music, but as you get deeper, everything change. Everything change, always, no matter what. It's the only thing you can count on in life, and that is the only thing you can count on by watching Petscop. Everything becomes more dull and realistic. There's no animated, cute background. There's no neon colors. The footsteps sound like you might expect them to sound when you're stepping on grass or stone floors or something. It's weird. Sounds like me jacking off sometimes whenever I'm jacking off. And then you get like to the birthday party room and there's nothing in there. There's no color, there's no sound. It's just the hum of Paul's shitty ass microphone. We've established that there's a lot of really weird shit going on here, but is there an explanation to the lore? Well, guys, there is. Capturing pets, there's crying girls, scary atmosphere, creepy noises. What the fuck does it mean? What does it mean? There's so many questions, and I feel like the way that I've portrayed all of this up until now, there is a lot more questions than there is answers and context. And I've done that for a reason. I want to confuse the shit out of you, so you have to watch the rest of the video. This story is quite convoluted, but I'm going to do my absolute best to explain it. Again, I'm not a genius on this topic, but I think I kind of understand what's going on. Petscop is a cute game on the surface with a really dark message hidden behind the cute graphics, and you slowly are revealed that you are a faceless, scary, disgusting creature with horrible ogre feet that is tasked with roaming around this bizarre landscape in search of pets, and you're supposed to catch them to give them love and find them a good home in your arms. In reality, once things take a turn, you realize that this is just hidden references to what we would believe is a real story. It is actually a real story. At the absolute deepest and darkest possible level of the Petscop Iceberg / rabbit hole, there is possible connections to a real world murder of a child. That's right. This just got a whole lot less funny and fun and cool and interesting, and we will explain it as best as we can. I'll do my best, all right? The alleged real-world case that Petscop is connected to began April 18th in the year 2000 in Evergreen, Colorado. It involves a girl named Candace who was born on November 19th in 1989. She was taken away from her home and put into child care away from her two siblings, Michael and Chelsea. By the way, I don't want to put her whole name in here, and I also don't want to put pictures of her. If you really want to learn about this stuff, you can go do it. I'm going to give a sort of synopsis of this, but I don't like talking about really real stuff too much because I like to make jokes and I like to keep things fun. But this is important because it involves the story of Petscop, which we are describing. Candace was passed around to a bunch of different foster homes for a few years when she was finally adopted by a nurse named Jean Newmaker. Newmaker, reference to the game. There you go. Her name changed to Candace Newmaker from her original name. This adoption, like many, was not all sunshine and rainbows. Candace's new mother, Jean, reported that she was exhibiting severe psychological and behavioral problems. Within only a few months of the adoption, she began going to a psychiatrist where she was reportedly playing with matches and fire and killing goldfish. They went through different types of medication and counseling to no avail. Then finally, Jean opted for a more serious treatment to help or aim to help Candace. The goal of this alternative and unique treatment was to get adoptive children to connect better with their new parents. The treatment was called attachment therapy. This is a trigger warning moment here, by the way. This shit is brutal. So strap in. That scared the f out of me, dude. Holy shit. In April of the year 2000, a 2-week intensive session of attachment therapy began between Candace and Jean. One method used was called rebirth therapy, in which she was supposed to escape her attachment and be reborn. This involved wrapping Candace in a flannel sheet and covering her with pillows to simulate a womb or birth canal, and then she was told to fight her way out of it. This isn't all, though. She wasn't just wrapped up. 4 actual real living adults used their strength and combined weight of over 650 pounds to make her resist and push on her to prevent this from being something she could do easily. They wanted her to quite literally fight for a new birth. And doing this, as one might expect, she pleaded to be released and she shouted that she couldn't breathe and she was dying. The therapist responded to her screams for help and said, "Go ahead, die right now, for real, for real." About 20 minutes into the session, Candace lost some control of her bodily functions. She vomited into the sheets that she was being trapped inside, among other things. About 40 minutes into the session, Candace was asked if she wanted to be reborn, and she responded faintly with no. The therapist responded with quitter, 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 quit, 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 quit. She's a quitter. What a fucking... This is insane. By the way, this doesn't even seem real. This shit's real as fuck. After an excruciating 70 minutes of this insane therapy, they decided to finally unwrap her from the blanket. The therapist then quipped, "Oh, there she is, sleeping in her vomit." Her body was completely cold and blue, and she had become brain dead due to asphyxiation and later died, as you can probably imagine. A year later, the two therapists were convicted and tried for reckless child abuse that then resulted in death. Both received 16-year prison sentences, and one only served 7 years. Everyone else, the mom included, who fucking sanctioned all this nonsense, they just had a slap on the wrist, even though they were witnesses to their adoptive daughter's death. Never stepping in to stop this or not want, I mean, what the fuck? So this is the tale of Candace's life, the horrible life that she experienced from birth to rebirth, or whatever it was supposed to be. The session, in fact, in which Candace was crushed in the sheets was filmed by these adults and even used as evidence in court, which supposedly made a jury cry. The transcript is available, by the way. There's no video available, thank God, but there is a transcript. By the way, these were unlicensed therapists, if you didn't know that by now. The story is horrifying, and it sets the tone for Petscop's hidden message: the absolute horrifying tale of the abuse and death of an adopted girl. References to Candace and her death appear frequently throughout the world of Petscop. The three most prominent examples we'll be referring to are her middle name, Tiara, her adopted last name, Newmaker, and the concept of rebirth that the person on Reddit initially sort of proposed back a long time ago. Tiara, Candace's middle name, is the first name of a character that appears in the Petscop world. In Petscop 3, while Paul is reading a note on the wall immediately after talking about murdering a child, it mentions Tiara, saying, "Tiara says young people can be psychologically damaged beyond rebirthing." That's awfully coincidental if this isn't a link, a direct link. We got her middle name, rebirthing, also the Quitter's Room. It's just another reference, quitter, whatever the fuck. So this is horrible, man. This is like a game that's based on or built around sort of a real true story that's insanely messed up. It's crazy. It's insane to think that this is a real thing that actually exists, and not to mention something that a bunch of people are sort of obsessed with. It's so up. It's so crazy. It blurs the lines between reality and fiction. It's a lot funnier when it's just fiction. In Petscop 5, when Paul is asking questions to the tool, he asks the question, "Who is Tiara?" This is after it's revealed that asking questions about other names like Mike and Care, the tool gives responses of "I don't know," but asking about Tiara is different. When the tool is asked about Tiara, it gives this answer: "Petscop kid, very smart." I guess this implies that Tiara is the child at the center of Petscop. Then Paul asks the tool if they remember being born. The tool responds, "I am not Tiara." So we have that pretty established. There's also the correlation of capturing pets and being able to also capture humans in the child library. For example, Care, NLM. Throughout the game, you're sort of shopping for different somebodies, people, kids, whatever it is. The child library also accepts people. Once you capture Care NLM, you can drop her off there and you can change your mind after 6 months. It's sort of an abandonment thing. Also, people seem to agree that Care NLM means Care Nobody Loves Me, which is probably why the girl in the picture has her hands over her eyes. She's crying. She's upset because nobody loves her. It also potentially makes a direct tie to the Dr. Seuss story of Daisy Head Maisie, a young girl who believes nobody loves her. This would also explain the flower plucking part, because the loves me not game. Unfortunately, though, in Petscop, it lands on loves me not, resulting in Care NLM to glitch out and your screen turn red and everything get all up. You can get her and all that stuff. So it makes sense. Another small detail link between Petscop and Candace is potentially the upload date of Petscop 2. Candace was murdered in April 2000. The sentencing for that case of the unlicensed therapist took place 1 year later in April 2001. And the two therapists, Connell Watkins and Julie Ponder, were sentenced to 16 years for reckless child abuse resulting in the death of a child. Connell Watkins was paroled in 2008 after only 7 years served, when she would have, and honestly should have, finished her entire stint in prison. That would have been in April 2017 when Petscop 2 was uploaded, April 1st, 2017. Also, the very first thing we see in Petscop 2 is the cellar door opening, potentially signifying the release of the disgusting killers. So as disturbing as it is, that seems to be the description and explanation of Petscop's lore and connection to reality. One thing to also consider is that there is no Petscop. Petscop's not real. The opening scene of Petscop shows a company called Garalina Games. That's supposedly the company, the development company that created this thing. 1997, Garalina. So the shit ain't even real. Not even a little bit of it. It was never a real game. There is a crazy fandom page with a lot of lore, though. Take this, for example. The company was a pioneer of mental experiments. These experiments were later outlawed when it was reported that various people who had played their game suffered from nightmares, experienced nausea, headaches, blackouts, amnesia, and in some cases, suicide. The United States government, in response, organized a cleanup act to collect every copy of every game Garalina produced. That'd be insane if that was real. It's like some SCP shit. And by the way, epically, this game was the brainchild of a fella named Tony. A guy named Tony created all this. Tony Dominico. The last Petscop episode ever was uploaded on September 1st, 2019, and in November 2019, Tony claimed on Twitter that he had created the game. He said, "I made Petscop." It's a little bit of a typo there, I think, but allegedly this guy is the guy who made the game. There was a lot of skepticism because it's just some fucking random guy. Nobody wanted to believe that one guy made it. They wanted to think that it was fake or big Garalina shit and all this stuff. No, it's actually just made by a guy. It's like a weird ARG thing. Yeah, okay, buddy. Lol, nice try, idiot. Please believe me. Who the f is Tony? Why is he so desperate? Following the epic reveal on Twitter, Tony posted a bunch of concept art and early iterations of characters like Carrot and Marvin, basically confirming that he created all of this stuff. Here's an image from 2013. Here's some Marvin school stuff from 2013. Little Marvin. He also confirmed the connection to Candace Newmaker, though he was very regretful of the link, which is fair. Regarding Newmaker references, most of you know that this was intentional, but I wanted to confirm it. It was extremely stupid of me. The quitter stuff is the most abhorrent thing I did in Petscop. I usually hate things about my previous work, but that stuff is on another level for me. That's true. I mean, it's a compelling story, but definitely the tie-in to real life is just, I don't know. It is artistic, and that's, art's supposed to make you uncomfortable. I think it's interesting. I think it's definitely very interesting. What do you guys think? Because that's all I really care about. My thoughts are that this shit is f***ed up and I want to avoid it at all costs from now on. EGM Now, formerly Electronic Gaming Monthly, put up an article which was a retroactive look at Petscop with contributions from Tony providing his insights. Tony, the creator of Petscop. He also touched on the connections to Candace, saying that it was used simply to tie together the themes of rebirth, but he didn't treat it carefully enough. He even stated that he was the original guy who posted the first post on Reddit to r/creepy games, starting the obsessive following that Petscop would receive. But who's Paul? Imagine if this guy's just lying. He's not actually the guy and stuff. He's just like a guy who can draw art and stuff. And this is a red herring. And the real creator of Petscop's actually out there, Garalina, and this is just a psyop by the government. Pfft, that'd be crazy. It's a creepypasta. It's an ARG. It's not a real game. It never was a real game. In fact, it was made by a guy named Tony, which is interesting. And I feel like the amount of buzz that it drew could have made this man a lot of money if he actually made the game, but also probably gotten him into a lot of trouble because of the real life references. There is no actual game of Petscop. There is a recreation called Giftscop, but it's fucking malware and I ain't installing that shit. There's also a multiplayer server for Giftscop, which is super interesting. They say on their Discord that certain antiviruses say that Giftscop is malicious, that's a lot of exes are malicious. I don't know, but I'm not playing that shit. It looks scary. The only reason I bring up Giftscop is because in Nexpo's video, he used footage from the recreation of Petscop, Giftscop, in his video for theatrical purposes. Excellent video, by the way. I strongly recommend going and checking out his video. Petscop is an absolute beast of an internet phenomena. In my opinion, this is like the only thing that is anywhere as extensive and as interesting and comprehensive and as compelling as this. As fucked up as it is with the tie-in to the real life story of Candace, it is wild, man. From the channel, Paul. Who's Paul, by the way? I didn't even research that. Who the Paul? Is it Tony? Is Tony Paul? I don't know. Seems like it could be Paul. It's a conspiracy theorist playground. Is one of the greatest things in the modern era in terms of internet mysteries. And yeah, I feel like it's been a long time coming. I should have made a video like this a long time ago, but that's my understanding of Petscop. Let me know if you guys have any questions or thoughts.